I'm Intruder Green. You might know me from things like Booze Cruise, Central East Correctional Center, and Coffee Meets Bagel. Welcome to the Intruder Green podcast. It is the 16th of November, 2020, and a lot's happened since we last got together, people, or at least since I got together with a microphone for you guys to hear me speaking about just about anything that comes to mind. First thing I want to acknowledge is the passing of a good friend of ours in the Mass Intruder community and the punk rock community in general, our good friend Bambi Guthrie. I'm not quite sure how his last name is pronounced, but he died real young and is a real big fucking bummer, guys. Sorry to do this, but it's really important that we acknowledge what a great guy he was. He was the guy who directed our first 3 music videos, I believe, and just an all-around sweet dude, super creative, and a lot of fun to work with. So we're really gonna miss him. I don't really know all the details of what happened, but it was a health thing, I guess, and was kind of like a fluky health thing. So I just encourage everybody, I know it ain't easy to check your health all the time in America, because not everybody's got health care and all that, and that's a big bummer too. But do what you can, please, people. Try to stay healthy and stay on top of things. And, you never know when all sorts of weird stuff is going to happen. So remember to check in with each other and let people who you love know that you love them, and vice versa, and all that good stuff. So anyway, Bambi Guthrie, R.I.P. Hope you're making some wonderful music videos up in heaven or wherever. All right. Moving on to the rest of the podcast now. The other thing that happened is the election, and hopefully that's gonna lead to some better times. But who knows, with Trump being all not wanting to leave and whatnot, who knows where that's gonna go. But luckily, that's the thing. You couldn't even get to this point where we got Trump trying to be not releasing power, without actually having voted against him. So good job, everybody, for at least getting to this point. We'll see, what comes after this. Hopefully, he just leaves and everything's fine. That's actually the weird thing that'll happen, though, because if he does leave, what's he gonna do? I feel like either he's gonna go commit suicide or something because he's way in too deep, or the Russians are gonna poison him and his family, or something weird's gonna happen like that. I don't know for sure. Obviously, nobody knows for sure, but I think it's gonna get weird, and it's gonna be interesting to see what happens in the next year or whatever. But yeah, a lot of damage has been done in the last 4 years, so it's good that hopefully we can finally, with all the social unrest and stuff that's come out during this time, get a leader in office that will hopefully actually listen to the people and try to fix shit, basically. Also, maybe some leadership on the whole COVID situation over there would be nice. It's funny to think about how that actually has an effect on the way people respond to fucking things like pandemics and stuff. Real leadership, instead of somebody who tells you just ignore it and it'll go away, just like your teeth. All right. Anyway, we got a voicemail from someone that I want to get into today before we start the real part of the podcast.
Hey there, Intruder Green. So my name's Lennon. I'm coming to you from Charleston, South Carolina, but originally from Warsaw, Indiana. So, have a mix of accents, I guess. But I guess what I wanted to come at you, I'm a stand-up comedian, but I've always been, performing music since I was, both my parents are musicians, and I've been performing, since I was 5 or 6 or something, and I'm 24 now, so basically for like 2 decades, and this is like the first time ever since I could remember that I can't, get on stage and be in front of people and, be myself. And I'm having a really hard time with that. I think another thing that I'm having a hard time with is, being 24. When you enter your mid-20s, I think that's when a lot of shit, starts to, close in on you, especially if you want to be a performer, because that's when you start really comparing yourself to, your heroes. In music, you have the 27 club, don't kill yourself. So, if you hear it's Kurt Cobain or Jimi Hendrix, obviously, but, Aziz Ansari, by 25, had his first stand-up special and everything. It's hard for me, being a stand-up, taking this big fucking hit that we're all having, and just, not being able to perform and not being able to, in my, how I feel, not work, even though I'm not making money. I made $40. Hey, better than most, most people their first year of stand-up. Yeah, last year was my first year of stand-up. Fuck. That's better than most people, but, it's still not, living. And, fuck, I'm rambling, I'm sorry. But, it's hard, because I want to develop. As a young comedian, I want to develop and I want to, make something out of it. And I'm sure, young musicians feel the same way. Actually, a big fucking thing that I'm having a problem with is, whether I want to be a comedian or be a musician. There's a lot going on, with that. I love playing music. I love playing bass guitar. I haven't played in a band that actually played together.
Yeah, Lennon, I hear what you're saying about having a hard time in your mid-20s when you feel like it's time to hit the road. I would say, first of all, now is not a great time to become a musician with the live music industry basically being, as the Germans like to say, kaput. I would say, if comedy is what you're doing, it's probably, I don't know if it's easier. That might be easier than doing music right now. Although, as things slowly come back, it might be easier to do solo acoustic stuff, which ain't ever gonna be my favorite, but it's probably gonna be a thing before full band stuff starts happening again. So I don't know if you're multifaceted like that. I would say that comedy is probably a good way to go, to start out with at least. And it's I would, first of all, let's get to the age thing. Being in your mid-20s or whatever, that's not old. I know what you're feeling. I probably felt the same way too. But it's you got a lot of time to do stuff. And, if you're feeling isolated or something and you can't get out there and do stuff, well, you just got to find other ways to do that. For instance, Mass Intruder ain't touring anytime soon because of the things being the way they are. So it's real important for me to have this podcast so I could talk to the fans and have something to do really with my time other than doing jobs so I can keep the lights on and whatnot. All right. So that's a thing. If you're trying to do some comedy but you can't figure, obviously that's a thing where people can't really go out and do stand up for a live audience as easily as they could before. There's communities around it, and I hope you can get into that and find some support to put yourself out there. And the other thing is, don't compare yourself to other people in your industry, I guess is the best term to use. I know that's virtually impossible to do, and I think everybody probably does it on a certain level, but you got to try not to. Because you got to do your thing, and as far as being successful at it, I think the only way to be successful at it is to just keep moving forward, and maybe you'll become the next Dave Chappelle, or maybe you'll become something less than that. But whatever, you got to keep doing it, and just do it. Like, don't worry about like success. Just keep moving forward and trying to like grow whatever it is you're doing, whether it's music or comedy or a blend of the two, which is important to remember. Like, you don't have to choose. You could do both. You can figure out a way to like incorporate comedy into music or vice versa. A lot of people do that, and not everybody's great at it, but some people can pull it off really well. So maybe, that's what you need to get doing. Yeah, obviously your skills, your skills better than anybody else. And now might be a good time to like kind of like hunker down and sort of like kind of self-critique and everything. Because if you can't, it's like what they say, in time of peace, prepare for war. So like, it's like that. It's like we're at peace now because nobody can tour nothing. So what do you got to do? You got to prepare for the next time when you can get out there. But at the same time, it's like I said before, you can get on YouTube or something and make some videos of being funny or something. I like that. I don't know how your stand-up is if it translates that well. I know it's hard to do anything like that without an audience, but you just gotta try to be creative. It's a creative kind of business, whether it's music or comedy or like art, whatever. So you just kind of gotta roll with the punches, I guess. That's the best advice I can give you, honestly. And as far as the age thing, I really don't worry about it. If you're in your mid-20s or something, I think that's a good time to start like putting yourself out there more, which is obviously hard to do right now. But it's like, don't bank on getting successful while you're in your mid-20s. Like, I think actually some of the best people that get successful really doesn't happen till later anyway, and they get a lot of time to like think about like how to best do their stuff, and then they get a little older and experienced, and then they come out with their best stuff, and that's what gets them noticed. And like a lot of these like people who get real like they blow up when they're real young, and it's like then they don't know what to do with themselves, and suddenly they like become detached, and then their art kind of suffers for it later. So I'd say just keep your nose to the grindstone on this one. It's one of those things too where it's like, you do this kind of stuff because it's fun, and wouldn't it be great to like make a living doing it? But at the same time, it's work, and you could work at something that you kind of hate, like a lot of people do, and that would suck. But you still got to work at this too. So and I know I'm not saying you don't work at it. I'm saying that you just got to keep doing that, and hopefully you play your cards right. Eventually it starts to pay off, not that it's paying off for anybody these days because of the crazy times we're going through. But everybody's in this boat together, even if some of us are in riding in first class or whatever, and some of us are in like coach or even the luggage compartment. All right, have a party down in the luggage compartment. Find out who smuggles some wine over and get into their luggage. All right, but anyway, yeah, just it's all I can really say is just stick with it, and we'll get through all of this pandemic shit together, and hopefully we'll all be able to do some cool stand-up shit and music in the near future. All right. And thanks for calling. If anybody else wants to get in touch via the Intruder Green calling line, it's 608-535-9608 is the number. And, you could send me a text. Don't send me a text because that doesn't really work for the podcast too good. But like you could send me a voicemail like this one, and I'll probably put it on the show. Or if you just want to like tell me something I should talk about and not have your voice on the show, just let me know about that, and I will do that. All right. But anyway, I want to give a shout out to the producers of the podcast: Luke Ellis, Heather Royston, Ren Sarns, Gem City Sabrina, Vaughn Cotton, Sarah Koenig, Chelsea McNally, Cardboard Box Colony and Carlos Hernandez. I almost got the last two mixed up there. So thanks, guys. I know we got at least one new person in there, and I really appreciate everybody helping out with that because, like I said, trying times. We gotta I appreciate you guys helping me make this happen. I'm hoping to try to do more video stuff soon too. I know the Halloween special didn't work out exactly like I wanted it to, but I did get some content out of it, and I hope it was fun for everybody who tuned in. You can go check out the remnants of it on the YouTube channel, and I think YouTube is going to be like where my go-to with all the video content. I'll probably put it up on Instagram too, but I don't know, social media is weird. I try to stay away from it, but YouTube seems kind of like it's a little more free and open still. They're not constantly trying to sell you stuff. I mean, they do, but they put ads in there and stuff. And hell, I'm trying to sell you stuff. Hell yeah, why not? But I'll sell you cool stuff, not I don't know, some stupid web app that you don't need, but they're gonna make you think that your life depends on it or some shit like that. Anyway, yeah, thanks so much, guys. Yeah, like I said, I want to do more video stuff, and your donations through the Patreon make all that possible. So anyway, getting on with the regularly scheduled program here. On this episode of the podcast, we got Hound Dog Heywood of the band UIC. And it was a real good getting to talk to this guy. He's kind of an old school punk rocker from a band that's existed since the 80s. So you could, it's fun talking to people who've been around for a while because they got some good stories, some better stories than I got. So yeah, without further ado, on with the show.
Hello, this is a prepaid collect call from
Intruder Green,
an inmate at Federal Correctional Institution. This call is subject to recording and monitoring. To accept charges, press 1.
Come on, girl, now it's time to go to a place where nobody goes. In another town, on the other side of space. Won't be the same. Unlocking go where party clothes. Unlocking go where party clothes.
Ladies and gentlemen, Hound Dog Heywood on the Intruder Green podcast. For some reason, that just feels really weird to say, but it sounds good. I love it. So, yeah, you guys are the band is you guys are out of Canada. Another Canada band that Melanie K has been so gracious to hook me up with, and she's fucking rad. But you guys have been around for a while, right? You started in the 80s, from what I could see.
Yeah, we the band formed in '82, and we were very, very active in the early and late '80s, and even into the '90s. Me and the other guitar player left and put together another band in about 1990, 91.
Okay.
And the band UIC kept going for a while, and then the UIC stopped, and then all of us got back together and we formed another band, all the same guys except for one different guy, and we put out 2 albums under the name The Chickens.
Okay. And another good name. I like that one too.
Yeah. So then we did that for a couple of years, and then we did that till about 2005. And then, we kind of went our separate ways again. And we always stayed in touch because we all grew up together and knew each other since we were kids. We're like family, right? Yeah. And then we came back together in 2016 and reformed. And we've been kind of back at it since then.
All right. So is this, well, I don't want to jump the gun here and talk about new stuff too soon. I like to try to form it where it's like a corporate meeting. So you do like old business and then like new business. And then, I don't know. I think there's 3 things, but I don't know what else you have. You got old business and new business. And then, I don't know, what else? But, yeah.
Well, there's old business, and then there's the in-between stuff, which is, and then, I can say we got old business, intermediate business, where we kind of were doing our own thing, and then the new business, you know.
Yeah. That sounds
Yeah.
real good. All right. Well, okay. So like you guys are back together in 20, did you say 16 or 17?
2016.
Okay. So the new business will be that you releasing a new album soon. But like,
Yeah,
is this the first one
emo,
you've
yes.
done since then?
What's that?
Is this the first one you've done since getting back together?
Yes, this is our first album since this is the first album we've done as UIC since 1993.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. So I mean, and we put out an album in 1986. The album was called Our Garage. That was our very first record, and it was on Fringe Product. And it got around. I mean, we got fans and out of that one in Europe and in Australia and Japan and Canada and the U.S. So that one got around. And then we did a live album in 1987. We recorded 88. So we recorded. It was released in 89. It was live. It's called Live Like 90. And like 90 means just giving it everything, like 90 mile an hour.
Oh, sure.
You know?
Yeah.
So it was called Live Like 90, and that was recorded in Toronto, and that was on OG Records. I don't know if you've ever heard of OG Records. Have you ever heard of Deja Voodoo or The Gruesomes or any bands like that? But that was OG Records put that one out. And then we recorded another album in between there, that a studio album that actually never got released until 2016. Because we had lost all the tapes and stuff, nobody knew where they were, and then they resurfaced, and so we put the because we're typical musicians, we didn't know where we put the shit, right? and so we put it out in 2016 when we reformed, and then the UIC guys put out another album in 1993, I'm going to say,
Okay.
Without Me and Ted, and then we put out 2 Chickens records, and then we were putting this is really the 5th UIC record, but the 7th with this group. We just put out 2 under a different name.
All right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting history you got there. And I suppose like like artistic differences get in the way sometimes. You gotta go do your own thing. And then but I don't know. I can definitely say from experience, sometimes it gets to be the point where you're like, yeah, we did that thing and it was cool. We're proud of it maybe, but it was kind of like always better when we were doing, this thing with this group, and maybe we should get back together and do that again. And then it turns out fucking rad. Is that kind of the idea behind the regrouping or anything like that?
Well, what really happened was when we got back together in like the late 90s, I'm going to say it was like 98 or something, when we got together, because I had left and I was with another band called Positively Stompin'. Me and the other singer left and formed another band, and we signed to Polygram Records, and we put out an album under that, and we did that for a bunch of years, and that was kind of like a outlaw country cowpunk kind of band.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, so that we did quite well with that, but then the singer kind of crashed and burned a bit on me. He was I love the guy with all my heart. He just passed away a year ago, but
sorry.
he was prone to that, and so that band kind of dissolved, and then I moved back to Toronto and hooked back up with the UIC guys, and then we said, hey, do we want to put this new record out as UIC, or do we want to change direction or change the name? And we were doing some kind of different stuff. It was a bit more garagey. It was a little different than what UIC was doing at the time. And we said, let's put out a new album. Let's go with a new name. And then because we weren't young guys even then, and I said, well, we aren't Spring Chickens.
Yeah.
So then it became, well, let's call the band the Chickens. And so
you're not Spring Chickens, you're just chickens. That's
we're
good.
just chicken.
Yeah, I like it. That's real good.
Yeah. So and then when we reformed to do a benefit for a record company over here called Star Records, and Mike Shulga, who was like a a big supporter of underground punk music and just underground music in general. He had a record store and a record label. He used to put these shows on all the time, and he passed away. And they asked us to reform to do a benefit or a tribute to him. So we got back together to actually do this tribute, and it went really well. The place went nuts. I mean, all our fans came back out again, and we kind of got re-energized. We said, well, let's do another show, and we did another one. It was even better, and another one, and it was even better. And we kept going. Then we got to open for like X, and we opened for the MC50, and then so we said, let's write some songs and go back in the studio, and here we are.
Hell yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear it, and I've been listening to you guys because I wasn't really familiar with the band until Melanie K brought you guys up to me. But I dig it. It's real, like you said, it's people like the internet, I guess, describes you guys as a garage band, and like punk, garage band, whatever. They kind of are the same thing for the most part. And
I'm not a big fan of labeling, but if you have to put us somewhere, it's kind of garage punk. We're not hardcore.
Yeah.
We're not hardcore punk. I like to just say, hey, it's like rock and roll. We were influenced by the Stooges. For sure. We were influenced by the Stooges, the MC5, the Ramones, the Damned, all that stuff. But we were influenced by like those early punk guys, New York Dolls, and then like the Ramones and the Pistols and the Damned and all that stuff. So it's kind of a mishmash of rock and roll and punk, and so it's just rock and roll to me.
Yeah, I think that's true for a lot of people. And I think it's important to note that because like they call it punk rock or garage rock, but it's really just like what people love about it. It's like a stripped down version of rock and roll, but it's all rock and roll. And that's the cool thing about it. It's like I think it's cool to embrace that idea of it, and it doesn't always have to be like we're punk rockers. We got these certain ethics or whatever that we need to like be involved with, but it's like when it's just about the music, it's fucking rock and roll after all.
It's absolutely, it is, and it's just about the music. I don't like to get super political because we have different political views, and I just don't think people can disagree with me, and that's fine. I just think rock and roll should be positive. And I get that you can change things with rock and roll, and maybe that's what some bands want to do, and that's great. But I also think sometimes we need to move away from the whole political argument and all that and just have some fun. And
Absolutely.
Go out and just have some fun and drink a couple beers and thrash about and dance and just, lose our minds to all the crap that's going on in the world and just bring it in and say, this is music. Let's just have some fun. So I like that concept. And so we just see ourselves as a rock and roll band. And stripped down. You're not going to hear synthesizers. We're not going to get too progressive. We are what we are, right?
Yeah, that's
and you either
good.
dig it or you don't. I'm not chasing anything. I just put out music that I like to put out. We put out music that we write songs that we like to write, and those who are going to get it are going to get it and have fun with it, and those who aren't, then that's okay too.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good. I think, like a lot of successful musicians, way more successful than me at least, have said that like that's what you got to do. You got to put out music that you like, and then like if other people like it, well, good. And if not, well, at least it's something that you like. So that's like the important thing, and that's good.
Every time I've heard a band that I liked in the beginning, and then they started chasing something, right? They started chasing a hit or tried to get bigger or just tried to do it that way. I'm always disappointed with the outcome. Yeah. Because they lose themselves somewhere. I liked them in the beginning because they were something, and then they tried to be something else. And I'm not saying you can't evolve or get better at your instruments or evolve and write different kinds of songs, but I think that sometimes people try too hard. I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. That's totally like a thing. And I think, like, I don't know, I guess it's a weird thing because you might be chasing, like, if you had a hit and then you want to be like the next David Bowie, and everybody's like, oh, David Bowie's so great because he like reinvented himself with every album or something. And it's like, oh, well, we need to do that. And it's like, well, maybe don't Maybe you don't. I mean, not everybody's David Bowie, you know? Like, you don't have to fucking necessarily, do it again.
I'm not even sure David Bowie wanted to be David Bowie.
Yeah,
I don't
right.
know. I don't know. Maybe that's why he kept changing. Maybe he didn't want to be who he was. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But he
But I
didn't
know,
keep
like, if I look at-
changing, though. He kept changing.
Yeah.
That's right.
But you look at a band like the Ramones, and the Ramones stayed pretty true to themselves the whole thing.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
Iggy. I'm a huge Iggy fan. I mean, I love Iggy Pop, and he's reinvented himself a bunch of times too.
He's done a lot
But
of
at the end of the day, Iggy's Iggy, so I mean, yeah, it's possible, but UIC stays pretty true. This album was really, a live off the floor, just go in and bang out some rock and roll, not a lot of overdubbing, just go in and bang it out, kind of like a live thing, and record it, Yeah.
That's good. But it sounds good. I think it was that the new album that I was hearing. You said it's released already, right?
It just came out Friday, but there's a single that was been up on iTunes called Superstar that's been out for a while.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
the
what
new
I heard.
album's called FM Hill. The only other two albums that are up, really available for everybody to hear right now, is our original album, our first album, Our Garage, which is the very first album. Then the live album is available, and then FM Hill, the new album. And FM Hill is really, the story of that is, when we were kids, teenagers, we lived in a very small town in Ontario, Canada. And sort of like if you lived in 50 or 60 miles or 100 miles north of some sort of farm country in the Midwest, right?
Right.
And we were kind of in the middle of nowhere, but we were close to Detroit. We were actually closer to Detroit than we were Toronto. So we were about an hour and a half from Detroit. So when at night, we'd go out to this high spot where we lived, and we could get Detroit radio from there. And so we would go out there, and we'd do our thing. Everybody be smoking their pot and having beers and stuff. And we'd get a...
Uh-oh, we're frozen. Sorry. I don't know what happened there, but we just got cut off for a second.
All right.
Are we back?
And
you got me?
I never lost you.
Oh, okay. I lost you for a minute. You froze up. But I heard about you were getting the signals on the hill, and you would go up there and smoke your weed and drink some beers.
And so we were listening to the Stooges, the MC5 and stuff that we were getting from Detroit. We were getting that Detroit rock. So that's why we called the song FM Hill is about that experience. And so we called the album FM Hill because we were really influenced by that whole Detroit rock, right?
Yeah.
So absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's very cool. And since we're on the topic, where does the name UIC come from? I don't normally ask this, but it's a very interesting name, and I don't know if it is like an acronym or whatever for something or not.
It is. It is. Well, in the beginning, 1982, when the band started, I don't know what it was like where you were living, but there was a really deep recession, and nobody had any work. Everybody was unemployed.
Oh yeah.
UIC, if you lived in Canada, if you've heard of anybody talk about in Britain about being on the dole, or, so
I heard of that Canada, before. I don't know what it means.
In Canada, UIC stood for Unemployment Insurance Commission.
Okay.
It was, if you were unemployed, you were on UIC. So you got money from the government or whatever to be on UIC. So we called it UIC. I don't know why, we just did, and it stuck. And so it was the unemployment insurance. So as we went out later on and people would ask us, we'd say, oh, that's how it started. But now it just stands for Up in Canada.
That's excellent. I love it. Yeah. No, but that's the best thing about having like that kind of name with like a acronym name where you could just like be like, it means this or it means that. But like, I like Up in Canada. That's perfect.
Underwear and cleaners. I don't know.
Yeah, just make it up.
Make it up. Whatever helps you remember it. I don't care.
Exactly. Whatever's funny at the time, like it could be a topical thing. But so speaking of, you're in Canada in the 80s and you start this band that's basically a punk band. Like, you say, obviously it's rock and roll, but like Stooges, Ramones, you're a punk rock band.
Absolutely.
So, like, I'm not trying to age you or nothing, but like, I think it's important to let people know what punk rock was like back then, because the kids these days, I don't think they know. I think they need to know. And can you give us any sort of like I don't know, what do you call that when you have like a short, I don't know, story or like something to say about it back then, at least like that was different?
Yeah, well, see, back then it all comes down to teen angst, right? It all comes down to that restless sexual energy or restless energy or just wanting something different. I mean, I grew up. Exeter is a very small town, right? It was 3,500 people. And so it took a while for punk rock to get there. It wasn't like, we had a record store that had all the newest records in there. So it took a while for punk rock. We heard about it in Cream magazine and stuff like that.
But couldn't you just find it on the internet?
No, there was no internet.
Oh, shit.
Fact, our first tours that we did, there wasn't even email, man. There was no cell phones. There was no, right. I mean, we didn't even have a fax. So, everything was word of mouth and everything was like, even you put posters up on telephone poles and so, it was all grassroots. It's not like now but it was really community. Even in Toronto in the early 80s, when we moved to Toronto in 84, and we didn't know anybody there, right? We got there, we were just these 5 guys from rural Ontario who thought they had a punk rock band that people wanted to see, and we got there and we didn't know anybody, so we started right at the bottom, right, and we fought to get one show, like a Monday night, and then we played there, and then we gathered a couple fans, and then we played a Tuesday night, and it was really dogfight back then to get it, but it was a community too. There was a scene, and I think that's what's kind of missing today. Is there's no real scene where you get together and everybody, you see the same people at the same shows and you build a scene. Now I don't think it's like that anymore. And I think that's kind of sad, because that was the cool part of it, was that whole scene, right?
I agree with you. And I feel like there was a certain time when that went away, because like, I won't say that, I wasn't touring that long ago, but I definitely, like did it before, everybody had a cell phone, and before like you just used Google Maps to find out where the fucking venue was and everything. But yeah, I think there was a certain point, and I don't want to say exactly when it was, but it was kind of like, like the 90s, punk rock blew the fuck up, and it was cool for a while when that happened. It definitely, changed my life and everything, but also with that, I think came a huge, like, the sort of like mainstream influence, and a lot of people getting into what was the scene back then, and like changing it, maybe not for the best, maybe kind of diluting it a little bit. And I think that's where we are today.
Yeah, see, things did change. I mean, when it became, I always think that music sort of, it goes a bit off when it becomes too acceptable, right?
Yeah.
I think
all art or anything really like goes that way.
Back when we started, I mean, we were a punk rock band, and I mean, I remember going and playing shows, and people would hate you because you were a punk rock band, and we were rockers and they were punkers, and it was like, it was all this, there was this rivalry, which I don't think was good either. But the fact of the matter now is, when I can go into the mall and I see a store that's got like a pre-made sort of outfit with a Ramones shirt, I'm like, okay, it's over.
Yeah, that's right. And that none of the still existing Ramones are getting a cut of that either.
They aren't getting any of it, I don't think.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's all been sold. I don't know for sure. I can't say that for sure, but it's too bad, because when it stays at that grass, but it always comes down to money, right? Yeah. And the fact of the matter is back in the day, we couldn't make a lot of money doing it, right? You couldn't make a lot of money. And then in the 90s, when they sort of commercialed it and they called it grunge, and then people started, Nirvana came out, and then the big money came. And whenever big money gets involved, it always goes south, right? It never goes great when big money gets involved, because then like you said earlier, what's next? What's your next hit? It's like then you're chasing the hit, right? Instead of just being a good band, you're chasing the hit. So yeah, Catch-22. Would I love to make a living and made some money and be sitting back here now going, yeah, I'm really comfortable because my song made me a lot of money? Yeah, that would be cool, I guess. But I think you always lose something at the same time when that happens.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Right? So it's kind of like where it goes from an art form to a commercial viable thing, there's something lost in the translation.
Yeah. And
it's too bad, but that's the way it is.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Or even when it just turns into a job and you kind of feel like, like I've done other things other than music, and it's like, oh, suddenly this thing I loved is now a job, and it's like, kind of don't want to do it no more. But, music could be like that too. So it's nice to like, I don't know. I think there is a certain level of where you can be, where you like make enough money, but not quite enough to like get too comfortable. And at these days, I don't know that anybody's comfortable with like what, like the live music industry is like kaput, as the Germans like to say. And everybody's having a tough time, but especially artists and the whole industry that supports artists. But speaking of that, we could get onto the new business, I guess, and talk about like this release thing that you guys are doing, because you got the new album out, but obviously you can't tour for it or nothing like that. So you're doing some kind of live stream thing, right?
Yeah, the best thing about doing a new album is going out and playing in front of people with the new material, the new album, and touring a bit and doing that sort of thing and getting the name out again. And that's always the fun part, but obviously that's a dead duck right now. Yeah. Can't do that. So we're doing I don't know if you've ever heard of the Horseshoe Tavern, but
we played there a few times.
Yeah, so the Horseshoe is kind of like our home away from home where we play. And so we're doing our live stream there on Saturday, November 21st. It was actually supposed to be tonight, but there was a second wave of COVID that came through, and they had to shut the clubs down again, so it got moved to November 21st. And yeah, it's going to be a live stream. I think they're going to allow, at least right now, they're going to allow only 50 people in the club, because that's the most you can have indoors right now. So we're going to have 50 people in the club, which sold out like immediately. And then the rest of it's going to be live stream, live show, multiple camera angles, and that will go out all over the world. So anybody, and that's kind of cool that if we have a fan that like you, I see back in the day, and somehow they hear about it, they can see it, right? So that's the trouble, really. I mean, because there was a disconnect. We had built quite a little following up that we were hearing from people in France and Spain and things like that. And then we kind of disappeared and now we're kind of back. But how do you reconnect with those fans, right? How do they know that you're back doing stuff? So this will be kind of cool if they can find out that they come back and see the band live. Would be kind of cool. So that's on November 21st. Any of your listeners can go on. I think it's like $15 or something. You buy you can buy the downstream or the live stream, and I think you have it for like a week or something. You can watch it and something like that. And it's $15 through Eventbrite, and you can come see the band live. And if you've never seen before, so it's kind of like the new way, I guess. People are trying to get their music out there, so we're going to give it a shot and see, how far we can take it, and see how far we can get this record to go.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing. I'm stoked to see how it all works out, because at least you guys got an audience at all. Like a live audience at all, because like I know that. When the whole pandemic started, there was still some bands who like, okay, a tour is canceled, and they were doing the same thing, but they were doing it like with no audience. And like I watched some of that stuff, and it was just real awkward. I mean, I guess it kind of works when they're doing like a solo acoustic thing, but then again, it's just a solo acoustic thing. It's not like a full band playing. When the full band's playing for nobody, it's like, what even is this? I don't know.
It's hard for a band like us because we're a very live band.
Yeah.
And our singer's a energetic kind of guy. Like he's a real energetic singer, like live front man, and he really feeds off the crowd. So when the crowd's not there, it's tough, right? It's tough to get that same energy, that same vibe going when there's not a crowd there. And that's just rock and roll. Rock and roll was meant to play in small, sweaty clubs with small, sweaty audiences. That's when it's at its best.
Oh, yeah.
It's never best at an arena,
right?
It just isn't. It's always best in a small little club, like 300 or 400 people jammed in. Everybody's sweating on each other. They're spilling beer at each other. It's way too loud. And that's when rock and roll is really rock and roll, right? Is right then,
Oh yeah. At this point, we can. I'm afraid we might have to start calling that the good old days when people.
I'm afraid you're right.
I mean, I hope that we can get back to that. But, like, we got to be safe. I don't want to get sick. I don't want my friends and family to get sick. So we got to do what we got to do. And unfortunately, that means, luckily we got the internet because, I don't know. If this was like 100 years ago or whenever the internet was invented, before that, like, it'd be rough going for, like, any kind of artistic person. So, It's weird. It's a bummer, but at the same time, at least we got this.
And I think we're going to get through it. I mean, I was reading something this morning that some like people are. I think it was Lollapalooza or Work Tour or something saying it's not going to happen until 2022. There's not going to be live music till 2022. That's what there's like in a big way. So maybe that's the case. I don't know. I hope not, but maybe that's the case. And until then, we got to do the best we can with what we have, and that's the internet. That's all we got, right? So let's do the best we can and get our music out the best we can. And I hope that we're able to go back and we're not old. I mean, depends who you're talking to, right, guys? I mean, to many people, we're old. But to us, we don't feel old. We feel like we still got some stuff left in the tank and we'd like to get out there. But, hopefully this ends and we still have the ability to go out there and play some shows and before. Because, I mean, there's a lot of guys still doing it that are older than us. Most of the rock and roll fans are older people now, right? The young kids there's the whole pop punk thing, which was great, but right. I don't know if they're reaching back. I don't know if they're reaching back to see where that came. Like Green Day came from someplace, right? Blink-182 came from some place. All these new sort of pop punk bands, they came from roots, and I think you should always go back and look for the roots. Right, to find out where that evolved from. Yeah. And it's the same if you're a Led Zeppelin fan, you should go back and listen to the blues to find out where that came from, right? If you're real
Thanks for listening to the Intruder Green podcast. By now you probably heard about our sponsor, Stupid Rad Merch Company. And if you haven't, then listen up, because I gotta tell you, Stupid Rad Merch Company is a great web store with a bunch of your favorite bands at stupidradmerch.com. And if you're in a band and need some work done, they can get you totally covered for a modest price and super quick turnaround time. But don't just take it from me. Here's what the ladies from Bad Cop had to say about it.
Yeah, comes up with great ideas. It's always pushing, always moving.
Simeon is delightful to work with. He's very responsive and professional, and
it's the quality of the shirts. I like them.
Yeah, high quality.
Very well done. Very well done on the ink. It really feels like a family again. It feels like it's a place where you can trust what's happening.
And don't forget to use the code PRISON at checkout and get a 15% discount on all Stupid Rad branded apparel. That's PRISON, I think. I don't really know how to spell, but those are the letters they told me to say. StupidRadMerch.com.
StupidRadMerch.com.
Guitar players, I bet you thought you were shit out of luck when it comes to finding your dream guitar or amp. You go on some auction site or something, and it's all crap? Yeah. Well, that's because, you gotta look in the right place. And the right place is Yeah Man's Vintage and Used Guitars. They got exactly what you're looking for. Now, I know what you're thinking. Aren't they located in, like, Switzerland or something? Yeah, man, they are. Bern, Switzerland to be exact. But you know, you can get on the internet and you can go check out the website, yeahmansguitars.com, and you can order stuff on there. So, you know, it don't really matter where the heck you are in the world. You can just get on their website and find all sorts of cool stuff that you're looking for. And you might not even know that you wanted it until you see it on there, and there's a lot of good stuff. If you got something specific you're looking for and need some help finding it, just hit up Yeah Man Guitars on the electronic mail. That's the email. It's like 21st century, and you got email and websites. It's like amazing. Some people will call it magic. Some people will call it science. I just call it, I don't know, crazy shit. yeahmansguitars@gmail.com. As far as email goes, it's where you email them. And while you're at it, get your band a tour in Europe and stop by the shop. Michael and the rest of the crew would love to meet you, I'm sure, and you could tell them Green sent you. Yeah, Man's Vintage and Used Guitars. Sorry, my internet turned on again. I gotta get back to the cell phone data. All right, sorry.
You're back.
My phone.
That's all right.
My phone
That's
decided
the problem
that.
with the internet.
Yeah, right. My phone decided that it was sick of using data and want to get back on the Wi-Fi. And as soon as it did that, it started cutting out. It's like, come on! I told you what to do, phone. Work.
Well, I was excited because Melanie told me that you like to hear stories of us getting in trouble and stuff.
Oh yeah, well that's usually how I try to end the show. And we're doing pretty good. Like, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to bring up, but we could get to that if you're ready for it.
Well, hey man, I don't want to monopolize your time, but I'm having fun talking to you. So absolutely, I'm open, man, to talk about whatever you want to talk about. I mean, yeah, we never see. Now you're in Germany, I believe, right?
Yeah, hiding out somewhere in Eastern Germany. That's right.
Okay, so I've never been to Germany. I come from German roots. Heywood is a German, but my mom's side was German, but I've never been there. And it's a bucket list for me to get there, to get to Germany. See, we should have toured Europe in the 80s, but we didn't. We didn't, like fools. We should have. Right. And we didn't, because the money we were always waiting for a bit more money to make it a little bit more comfortable. And we just needed to go and do it once. We had a couple of opportunities to go, and we went, let's wait and see if we can get a bit more money to go. And then we didn't do it. And so I want to come back now, because we're older now. We're all doing a little better financially, and I want to take like 2 weeks and come to Europe and just do a 2-week UIC tour in Europe and just hit a bunch of shows and see it, because I want to do it. Never been to Europe.
Yeah, you should. You absolutely should. I recommend it for any band, honestly. Like any size band. Like there are bigger bands than us that fucking probably haven't done it, and they really appreciate live music over here. I think a little bit more than they do in the States. Not that there aren't plenty of people in the States who fucking love it, but I think because a lot of the stuff that happens in America, people are just used to it over there, and over in Europe, they're not so used to it. So it's like real special when like some fucking band from the USA comes over and puts on a show. Like, people are, I don't know, there's just more of a thing for it here. There's like a whole industry behind it, like even the DIY tours and stuff. Like you can hire a tour manager and like a driver for like real cheap and stuff these days. Obviously that was before like the pandemic, because it's going a little easier here, but it's still happening. So like, as far as like that stuff right now, it's still like shut down, but hopefully it will get back to it soon. I know there's some bands who already lined up tours over here for like later this year even, which I don't know, that's not very long because this year's almost over, but or like early next year. So it's a thing. And I definitely recommend it. You should get on over here. And the cool thing is, I don't know if you could even get into Eastern Germany in the early '80s, because they were like a Soviet country back then.
Yeah, I don't think you could have. But I mean, the thing that I love about Europe that's different than North America is and this is just talking to friends who've done it and just hearing about it. They seem to be much more into live music and rock and roll.
Oh yeah.
These days than in North America. It's kind of almost a dying thing over here. Not dying, but I don't know whether there's too much choice or whatever it is, but I keep hearing all this good stuff about how Europe is now really the heartbeat of rock and roll. And if you're a band that's not necessarily a mainstream commercial type band, Europe embraces that a lot more than North America does, right?
Oh yeah, I think so, absolutely. And there's a lot of really good bands coming out of Europe these days too.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I think it is a hotbed for that. And yeah, like we said, the pandemic kind of screws up everything, but I think that Europe is still a good place to go if you can get there. And even if you got to do one of those like lose a little bit of money, like more of like a vacation kind of tour, it could be worth it.
And that's absolutely what I want to do, and we're going to start looking at that because I think that would just be a blast. I mean, I don't, you know what? I don't care about making money anymore. I don't really give a shit. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, at the time I was worried about it, and we tried to hold out and make more money. Now I couldn't give a flying rat's ass about making money. Let's just go and have some fun and meet some new people.
Hell yeah.
And yeah. That I'm with you. That's how we'll do it. I don't expect we're going to go over there and make money. I hope we go over there. If we could break even, that would be awesome. If we don't, who cares?
But
they're money.
They're also like the other thing is they're real good at taking care of people. Like like doesn't matter what kind of band you are. Like they're gonna feed you. They're gonna pay you, and they're gonna pay you something. I don't know. Like we played shows where I couldn't believe how much money they paid for how many people they were there. But it's like they're like real proper about it. They're like, no, you're a musician, and that's a real job, so you get paid. And we're like, that's a real job? Not in America.
Over here anymore, they want you to pay to play,
Yeah,
at the
exactly.
club, but that's what I've heard. And I mean, I know that if we can get out there, get enough promo going, that we'll drag out some old UIC fans, and hopefully with the new album coming out, we'll get some new fans. So I'd like to do it next year. Would be my goal to go in 2020. And if things, it has to, the pandemic has to calm down a bit. As soon as it does, I think we'll consider it, because I've always wanted to do it. I want to bring my wife with me, and we're just going to make a fun trip and just go and let's just go play rock and roll for a couple weeks, hit as many shows as we can, go and play to as many people as we can, and just because I think if we do it once, I think people will see the band and appreciate the band, and we'll get a chance to maybe go back and do it again.
Oh, they absolutely will. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah. It's one of those things where you do it in the States too, where you got to tour. And your first tour, you play in basements or whatever. And then, word of mouth, people tell people and whatnot. And they get on the internet and be like, hey, I saw this cool band last night. Where the fuck were you? And then the next time you show up, more people are there. You got to grow that base. But I think it's easier in Europe to do that, because they're just more like, hey, a band from America's here. Everybody get the fuck out and come see this band.
Well, and I think the part of the thing is we're a Canadian band, so I don't think a lot of Canadian bands
Canadian or
do
America, yeah. Sorry, I keep saying America, and I'm not meaning that you're from there.
That's all right.
Yeah.
But there's, you know what I'm saying? I think there's another element of that, because I don't think a lot of Canadian bands come over, so I think there's something intriguing about that. But I think we'll do it. And the problem with the U.S. for us too is, I mean, for us to get into Europe is actually easier than for us to get into the States to play, right?
Yeah.
It's tough to get into the United States to play. They want to keep you out because they think that you're taking work from their musicians. We're like,
sure.
That's not how it works.
Right.
But so it's easier for us to actually come to Europe as Canadians than it is for us to go to the U.S.
Yeah, I believe it to be true. Yeah. That's probably why, we're friends with this band, the Flatliners. I don't know if you heard of them. But they're from Toronto, and I swear to God, every time we tour Europe, we end up running into them because I think they tour Europe way more than they tour the States, even though it's like they're right next door to the States. But yeah, it's just easier.
Yes. Yeah, it is. I swear it is because and more accepting, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's just more accepting. So we're gonna do it. I swear we're gonna do it. So hopefully when we do it, we'll get a chance to meet the Green Intruder live.
Oh yeah, well I'll be out there. I'll come say hi for sure. And with all this shit talking, I don't mean to talk too much shit about America. Like I said earlier, I miss being there. Mass Intruder had a couple of tours lined up this year that just obviously didn't happen, and I was really looking forward to seeing everybody. So friends, sorry for talking so much shit, but Europe's rad, and I still hope to get back to America to see you all sometime soon. Sorry, I had to put that little disclaimer out there just for my own personal.
Have you been to Canada? Stuff. You ever been to Canada?
Oh yeah, we love Canada. Like I said, we played the Horseshoe before.
Right, you did say that.
Yeah. We've been all over Canada.
Did you play London, Ontario?
We played Call the Office in London.
That's where we play. That's our whole that's where we're from. We grew up about 30 miles north of London. That's where we grew up.
Yeah, and I think we've just gone to hang out there. We got some good friends that live in London, and I think Yellow met the bass player from Kitty there or something.
Okay, yeah.
You know that band?
Yeah.
Like that metal band? Yeah.
Yeah, they're from London.
Yeah, that's right. But we played all over. We've done the East Coast or the East part of Canada a bunch. Montreal and all that, and then we've done West part a couple of times. It's all great. We love it. Every time we go, I think I said this before on the podcast, but like every time we get across the border, like after customs and everything, suddenly we just feel like lighter. I don't know. It's like we're just less worried about shit for some reason.
Well, there's some truth to that, man.
Yeah.
There's some truth to it. I mean, is with a lot of things about Canada and America, and I've been doing quite a few interviews for this album with the U.S. like college stations of it. I try to explain it. Like, here's how I explain Canada. We're like your attic. We're like the U.S. attic. We like your attic, and you don't know what's going on. You don't know what's up there, and then you come up there and you go, holy crap! Look at all the stuff that's up here. I had no idea that all this shit was up here.
Yeah, that's right.
They got stores and they got roads, they got everything up here,
That's right.
It's like they don't know about us, right? Because we're just like not in the news a lot. We're not, we're kind of a passive people, and you don't hear about it. We're actually more European than we are American, right? Yeah. So in our attitudes and stuff. So it's different, right? But it's a cool place, very cool place. Canadian people are cool.
It's super cool. Yeah. And we love getting it up there anytime we can. So yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. So now we're getting to the point where I probably should ask the last question, unless you got something else you need to bring up, because we're getting close to going long here.
Yeah, no problem. I'm good. You just bring it.
All right. So the question is crime stories, and I'm glad Melanie K let you know about this, because I forgot to mention it earlier to prepare you. I like to prepare people for it, because sometimes when I ask them, they're like, I don't know. Then they gotta fucking think about it ahead of time, and it's like, well, maybe you could have done a better job if you had time to think about it. Anyway, crime stories. Do you got one?
I've got some beauties, just run-ins where, we were all once again. We weren't really bad dudes or anything. We were typical punks, but we were Canadian punks, so we were pretty friendly punks.
Sure.
But we had one night we were the club scene in Toronto, and we have streetcars, right? Like street trolleys that run in tracks, and so we're on our way back from a club, and we're all in this thing. I don't know, there's 4 or 5 of us, and I didn't know, but the guitar player and our manager were having an altercation with a car that kept pulling up at stoplights, kept pulling up beside the streetcar, and they were giving each other the finger and mouthing off through the windows and stuff. And I didn't even know this was going on, so we got to our stop, and there was me and our guitar player Fred and this girl. She was a friend of the band. She was a bit of a mouthy one, and anyway, we get off the streetcar, and the streetcar guy saw what was going down, so he closed the doors, and the streetcar took off and left all the rest of the guys on the bus.
Oh,
on
shit.
the streetcar. So I get off, and I'm like, what the hell is that? And I look around, and there was these guys. It was like a gang that they had been flipping off that then got out of their car. And so they're there. They got nunchucks. They got pipes.
What?
They got all these weapons.
Wait.
Okay. And they got me.
Tell me this happened in the 80s.
This was in the 80s.
Okay, because it would have had to have been in the 80s for there to be nunchucks involved, I think. That's
Yes,
awesome.
yes.
Yeah. All right.
So they're standing there, and the girl that's with us is just chirping. She's just mouthing off to them, and I'm saying, like, shut the hell up. We're going to get our ass handed to us here. I said, just shut up. So anyway, I just said, man, anyway, we got, we avoided the altercation because another group of guys pulled up in another car, and they said, you guys having problems here? And they jumped out, and they had baseball bats. And
Holy
anyway,
shit.
it broke up. It broke up, and we went back to our band house. And anybody that was involved in the Toronto music scene in the 80s knew the UIC band house, 13 Grenadier Road. Everybody
Okay.
partied there.
All right.
So we go back to the band house, and unbeknownst to us, this girl that was with us had phoned the cops about this altercation.
Uh-oh.
So we're just everybody's at the band house, and everybody's smoking joints and doing all the things
Yeah,
that you do
all
in a band house. All of a sudden, there's a knock on the door, and nobody knows anything. The girl goes out to the door, and all of a sudden, the two cops walk in the house. Now, at that point, marijuana is completely illegal in Canada. It's legal now, but then it wasn't.
Right.
And the cops come in. Well, these were the two of the coolest cops ever. They came in, and they're like, yeah, whatever. They're like, yeah, whatever. And we're like freaking out because there's like, it was a hash all over the place and weed all over the place. And the cops go, yeah, no problem, whatever. And they go, what happened? We're telling the story. And then we said, hey, you want a beer? And the cop goes, yeah, we'll have a beer.
What?
So we got two cops, Toronto cops, in our band house with weed everywhere and girls everywhere, and they're drinking beers with us in the kitchen of the band house.
Oh, man. That's like, yeah.
So that
Yeah,
was
you're
cool.
definitely not in America. Holy crap.
That's the difference right there. There's the difference.
Hell
And
yeah.
then another story I got to tell you this. So our
Yeah.
small town where we grew up, we had town cops. So only 3,500 people. But we had town police.
Sure.
And I'm going to say it was probably like 1987, something like that. I was living in Toronto, and I went back home to visit my parents and whatnot. And I get back to Exeter, which is our small town, and it was probably like, I don't know, midnight or 1 in the morning or something by the time I rolled in. And so it's customary when you get home to your small town to make one trip up and down Main Street to see if anybody's out and about.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I'm just going to see if anybody's hanging about that I want
Sure.
to see and say, hey. So I'm driving down Main Street, and I see the police car coming towards me, going slow, and I'm like, okay, it'd be cool. I mean, I wasn't drinking or anything like that, but I go, okay. So I'm watching. Well, as the car gets closer, I notice it's full of people. And as the cop car pulls by me, I notice that a local girl who I knew, I won't use her name, but she's driving,
What?
and the cop that's supposed to be driving is sitting in the passenger seat, and there's 3 or 4 people in the back seat, and they all hold up beer and give you the old yay party woo. They're actually driving around in the cop car with the cop in the car, and they're all drinking beer, driving around in the car.
Oh, man. That sounds amazing.
I tell that to people, and they go, "No way, that actually happened." I'm telling you, I swear that wasn't the only time that kind of shit happened, but that actually happened. They were driving around, holding up beers out the window, going woo, and the cop was there partying, drinking with them.
Oh, man. Well, that is incredibly irresponsible, but it's also what I think we need to get back to as far as, like, all these protests and everything. Like, that's the spirit, Oh, man. Oh.
Nobody was getting hurt.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, there you go. There's a couple of stories for you.
Oh,
there's a difference
I
between
love 'em.
American cops and Canadian cops, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, big time. Oh, yeah. Oh, well, I appreciate those stories and getting to talk to you, buddy.
Well, we never got to spend any time in prison or jail, other than maybe a couple of us for the night because of too much booze or whatever. But
Oh, yeah.
you know,
I mean,
we did have ours.
I wouldn't recommend it, but it can be a party if you want it. I mean, you could party anywhere if you really want to. So, whatever. I wouldn't recommend it, though.
I'll take your word for it.
All right. That's a good idea. Yeah, well, it was good talking to you. Do you want to give a shout out to your socials and everything where people can find you on the internet?
Absolutely. And I urge people to come and find us. We have an official website is uiccanada.com. Just uiccanada.com. We have if you go on, you can find us on our official Facebook page is UIC Canada as well. If you always put on the letters UIC and then Canada, you will find us. Yeah. Because there's other UIC stuff that comes up, like the University of Illinois campus or something like that.
All right.
They call some of their stuff UIC, but you'll find us if you put UIC Band Canada, you'll find us. And then we also have a fan page on Facebook that fans have put up called UIC The Band from Exeter. And Exeter is spelled the same as Exeter, England, Exeter, Exeter. So there's our socials, and that's our website. And we also have a YouTube channel under UIC Canada where you can see some live video. And then we also have Instagram, UIC Canada. So it's always UIC Canada. If you put that in YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, you'll find us. And that's where it all happens now. I mean, we're older guys, man. Like, you get it. We're coming up on a 40-year anniversary of this band, and
hell yeah.
And so getting used to doing the whole social media thing is. But you got to do it now. You got to have a social media presence. So.
Absolutely. I mean, kind of unfortunately, because social media. I don't know. YouTube's cool, but most of it's kind of just like, man, really, I got to do this. Whatever. Well,
let's keep it. I mean, the problem with I've gotten all kinds of crap on Facebook with debating people and stuff, and I just don't do it anymore.
Yeah,
it's like keep it positive, keep it about rock and roll, keep it about positive, because otherwise it just digs it down in the mud and it becomes a real ugly thing. And and I don't like it. I don't enjoy it, and let's just keep it positive, friendly, and it's really easy to attack people when you're a keyboard warrior.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's keep it real. Let's love each other. Let's keep it real. We're all just humans in the human race, and we're all going through some shit. Let's keep it positive.
That's right. That's important to remember. We're all going through this shit. Like, I think it's one of those situations where like everybody's unhappy, and some people want to blame other people for that. But it's kind of like, well, maybe we all got shit going on. We gotta just kind of get through it. And like you said, stay positive. That's a good message.
And let's also realize that you can have a different political views than me, or religious views, or whatever. You can have different views, and you can still be my friend. I don't have to hate you because we don't think exactly the same way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, I think we need to get back to that. I hate racism. I hate where we have to take a position and we can't like people because they have a different view than us. And I mean, I get it if somebody's really extreme, like nobody likes racism and all that stuff. Like we can dislike that and we can dislike those people. But for the regular political differences and all that stuff, let's let that go. Like I got lots of friends that I love dearly. Like they're like family. I love these people. They don't think the same way as I do, and that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. That's cool. That's all right.
And sometimes it's important to have those people in your life because you can fucking like talk to them, and maybe they'll talk to you. But if you come from like a place of like love and respect, you can kind of like talk about your ideas and why they matter to you and why they're different from those people. I believe that to be true. I haven't necessarily experienced that, but I believe it could be a thing and that it should be a thing.
You hit the nail on the head. It should be a thing that we can have a debate and disagree and still walk away and say, you know what? We disagree. We'll agree to disagree, but I still love you, brother.
Yeah.
And that's it. don't let the hate get in there, because the social media, the media in general, all that stuff, they feed off of it, and they make money off of the hate, and let's not let them do that. It's a horrible thing. So love is real, love is all. Let's keep that going, and let's be positive and respect everybody's different views, and just love on each other. That's better. That's a better option, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the way I feel anyway.
Yeah, I agree. And with that, I think that's a great point to sign off. It was good talking to you, man, and good luck with the new album and whatever shows you're able to play. Hopefully, we can get to doing some live stuff soon.
Yeah, well, if you're kicking around November 21st, a chance to see us do our live thing, live from the Horseshoe. It's on Eventbrite, goes all around the world. It's not much. It's $15 Canadian, which the Canadian dollar, I refer to it as the Northern Peso. So it's always about 30% lower value than the U.S. So it's a pretty cheap ticket. So come and check it out. We'll have some fun. I think you'll enjoy the band live, and we'd like to break the internet that night by having as many people check us out that night as possible. So
hell yeah.
Hopefully some of your fans will come out and check out the band and give us a thumbs up or a comment in the comment section, or get on our social media. We're just friendly Canadian rock and roll guys that want to meet people all around the world. So let's make it happen.
All right. Sounds good, bud. And that's it for the Intruder Green podcast. I want to thank Hound Dog Heywood again for being on it. You can hit me up on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all at Intruder Green. The Intruder Green call-in line is +1 608 535 9608. Patreon.com/Intruder Green if you want to become a producer of the podcast. The Intruder Green podcast is produced by Colin Bennett, hair and makeup by Genevieve Smith, set design by Dylan Raymer, catering Matthew Hendershot, lighting Squeak Lights, Rahway, New Jersey. Our theme song is Particles by Pipe Bros. This is my boomstick. Whoop!